It is now time for the most important Pokemon battle of the week, and really the only important Pokemon battle of the week. This is my tournament run, ADV Rev 3. This is round 5, actually. So going into this round, I am 4-0, which, if you don't know how this works, my opponent is 4-0. They just have the same record as you. That's how it works. So in other words, I'm fighting an alpha male Giga Chad. So it's a best of 3 in case you're new here. So for game 1, I'm going to be using... Usually I bring the more balanced teams if you've been sticking around for this journey. But today I decided... I just woke up and chose violence. So I'm going to be bringing the pain for game 1. Okay? So I'm going to start off with Metacham. And then they lead off with... Oh, my favorite victim. But it's so obvious they're going to run away. I'm like, oh, well, they might bring in a Gengar. So I'm going to click Shadow Ball. No, it's a Skarmory. This actually happened in the tournament before. They brought in a Gengar in the past. I was like, I'm going to learn from my mistakes. Nope, it was a Skarmory. Brick Break would have done some good damage to that guy. So I obviously bring in my Magneton, which I am carrying. But it's not my opponent's first rodeo. They've seen this trick many, many times. And they bring in a freaking Moltres. So I got to get the hell out of there, and I bring in a pretty good response to Moltres, which is Suicune. I didn't know if they would want to burn me or go for Flamethrower. They chose to burn me. I'm okay with that. So now I'm going to go for a Calm Mind, and they bring in... Try not to click off the video, guys, but they bring in the most disgusting Pokemon known to man, Blissey. So my game plan here is to literally just go for a million Calm Minds and try to kill everybody. So that's what I do. So they go for Seismic Toss, which I guess that's good information. I now know this thing isn't that Calm Mind variant, which can, you know, if you're not ready for that, will annihilate you. So it's just Seismic Toss. So watch this. I'm at 39% HP. And they go for a Seismic Toss. And then there's the Sand and the Burn. Check this out. David literally lived on 1% HP. So what's funny is I go for rest here, and they thought I was going to attack. They didn't think I had rest, so they go for a soft boiled right here at full health. That was not a misclick. They for sure meant to do that. They thought that your boy didn't have a plan out of here. So their backup plan is, what do you think it is? They're going to bring in Skarmory, obviously, and roar me out. But if you haven't been paying attention, by the time it does roar me out, I will have burned 2 turns of sleep. So in other words, when Suicune comes back in after the roar, I can just attack immediately. So it's kind of like a hard reset right now. They roared me out. I was like, Magneton, and I got Metagross. Probably the worst dude I could have got. So I said, whatever, I'm going to bring in Magneton again. They said, enough is enough. I've seen grounded Pokemon. I'm going to set up spikes. So I finally captured their Skarmory. I go for the Thunderbolt. I don't know what that thing's spread is. I don't care. It's dead now forever. Obviously, Moltres is coming back in, so I'm like, okay, it's the same exact situation. I just have one little layer of Legos stabbing my feet. So they, you know, expect the Suicune, so they go for Flamethrower, which was good for them. Will-O-Wisp would have done 0 damage. But remember, I can wake up now, so I go for Calm Mind. I was like, okay, this time for real. I got rid of the Phaser, the roaring Pokemon. If you don't know what that is, that's Cool Kid for roaring. Speaking of roaring... The Moltres has roar. I was like, oh, that was a waste of my time. But I thought, okay, well, Moltres is so tanky, then maybe my Metacham's faster than it. It was. I went for Rock Slide and one-shot that thing. Awesome. You guys are going to see this dude is a fan of Moltres because they bring it in future games. Moltres looking pretty strong. Will-O-Wisp, Flamethrower, Roar. So they bring in Swampert. So I just decide to send in Snorlax because I saw the Tyranitar and Blissey. I'm like, I could probably keep Metacham to kill those two. So I just chose Snorlax because I was like, oh, whatever, Earthquake's probably coming. It does a lot of damage, and then I go for Body Slam. Oh, what do you know? They have a Gengar. Imagine if they brought that thing in turn 1, they would have Rage Quit. I'm just kidding. I don't... Well, man, if they Rage Quit, that would have been fine for me. 1 free W for David. So I'm going to try and attack this Gengar with a Shadow Ball. And they go into Stinky Tyranitar, which is usually a pretty good threat to Snorlax. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm going to go for Earthquake here, right? They go for Earthquake, which they definitely should have went for Rock Slide that turn first, and chance in the case that they get a crit or a flinch, because what happens is they switch up. They went for Earthquake first, and now they go for Rock Slide, and then they missed, and I got a crit. So that was the most tragic turn that happened in this whole battle for sure, because now my Snorlax lives. But more importantly, I wasn't too worried about that Tyranitar, but as you're going to see, I'm going to live this Earthquake from this Swampert right here. What button do you think David clicked right here? Goodbye, Swampert. That's the second time I've ever seen Swampert one-shot ever in my entire life. So all that's left is 2 Pokemons, and I just bring in Magneton here. I go for a Thunderbolt because I wanted to try and poison Blissey if I saw it, but they brought in Gengar, but they didn't actually attack me. This Gengar hasn't done anything the whole battle. So I was like, okay, if you kill me, whatever, I'll just bring in Medicham or somebody. But they chose to bring in Blissey, so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to poison you now. And I'm in a really good spot here because they could switch with the Natural Cure, obviously, but then the Gengar is going to have to eat a magnet-powered, you know, Thunderbolt for Magneton. Not good. So I just literally have to sit here and keep spamming Thunderbolts. They chose to let Blissey take the shots. They wanted to preserve Gengar. And Blissey is getting slowly eaten away by the sand and the poison. So I just hit him with one more Thunderbolt. They take me out of the Seismic Toss because Magneton has like 50 HP. And obviously Gengar is going to come in the next turn because that Blissey will definitely die to the sand and the poison. I think collectively it does like 21 damage. 21, you stupid. So that guy's dead now. In comes Gengar. I didn't know if I would live an attack. I think I could have. I think I could not have. I think it depended on that spread. They go for Thunderbolt, and I literally lived in one shot with Shadow Ball. The whole time I was trying to keep Medicham to kill Tyranitar and Blissey, and I ended up just killing Moltres and Gengar instead. So I'm 1-0 right now. This is a best of 3. So let's head into game 2. For this team, I'm using the Big 5 and then Starmie, which is usually my more balanced team. Let's see what kind of pain and agony I'm going to run into today. So the battle starts, and I'm going to lead off with Skarmory. This Tyranitar, I went for Spikes, and I was like, the worst thing they could do is Fire Blast. No, the dude has Dragon Dance. They have a lead Tyranitar Dragon Dance. I was like, okay, well, I don't know if this thing has Lumberry or Leftovers or whatever, so I just decided to roar it out because I'm scared for my life. This probably isn't their first rodeo again dealing with Skarmory because they went for Focus Punch, which, you know, does more damage. And that did quite a bit to my Skarmory. So they bring in this Aerodactyl, I roar them out into Aerodactyl, and I was kind of just scared. I could have just went for the Cringe Protect, and then would have been Skarmory versus Skarmory, but I brought in what the kids would call the Rock Resist, but then, you know, it's just Skarmory. So I was like, you know, I'm going to take this opportunity to paralyze Skarmory, because I bet this thing's going to cause me many, many issues later on, because I don't have a Magneton to trap it in. So you're going to see that paralysis was huge. That dude had a painful time with their Skarmory. I swear, you're supposed to get paralyzed 25% of the time. It felt like it was 50. You can keep track. I'm not going to. I just Rapid Spin, get the spikes. Oh, that's the first paralysis. Keep track. I've got Natural Cure, obviously, so I'm not worried. I'm not freaking out. So I decide to bring in my Gengar. Gengar, pretty good answer to Skarmory. You can't do any damage to me if it's a standard set. So I decide, okay, well, I'm going to click Thunderbolt now. It's going to do quite a bit to you. And they have a Celebi, which at this point in time, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat this thing because I don't know what it's capable of. Celebi, kind of versatile. So I brought in Blissey in case it's like Calm Mind. I could try and poison it, but it just goes for Leech Seed. And then you know how this works when you Leech Seed Blissey. That thing just got back 21, you stupid, percent of its HP. Not good, not good. So I went for Toxic, and it misses the Tyranitar, which I was not happy about because the Tyranitar, it doesn't actually have a Lumberry, it has Leftovers. So in other words, this Dragon Dancing Tyranitar, had it got poisoned, I could have done things like Protect Cringe Stall Skarmory and got rid of it like that. So now it goes for a Raw Dog Focus Punch into Swampert's Mudfish Gill things, and it did a bit of damage. I was like, okay, I know, I for sure can bet my life you're going to bring in Celebi, which they did. I went for an Ice Beam. Swampert was mad. Swampert was very mad. It got a crit and a freeze. Swampert chose Violence. I don't even know what to say. And they didn't even dethaw, so I just go for a Surf, and then they just died of the sand. That was definitely the most important and by far the best turn that happened to me for this battle, because that got rid of so many problems. I much preferred that over missing the Toxic on Tyranitar. That Dragon Dancing Tyranitar, I'll deal with it later. Dude, I go for Protect on this Moltres. I'm like, do they have Hidden Power Grass? No, and just Protected. They just went for Roar. Okay. Just like the last one. They went for Hidden Power Grass the second turn. So they tricked David, and I felt really dumb, and they hurt my ego and my poor feelings. So I bring in Starmie now, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to paralyze this Moltres instead because they could bring in somebody else. But looking back on it, probably Surf might have been the better idea. But I wanted to paralyze them in case they wanted to stand and go for Empire Grass. I think that would have killed me. So I at least wanted to go down swinging. But they just bring in the Skarmory to be immune to the paralysis. So they poisoned me. I hit them with a pretty not very powerful surf. And I think about this point in time, I went for like a rapid spin. Oh, no, I went for recover. Good thinking, David. Good thinking. They get paralyzed again, as I kind of already mentioned before. Dude, even when Skarmory is paralyzed, which is huge, by the way, this thing is so annoying and it's very difficult to remove. Imagine if that thing wasn't paralyzed. So I bring in my own Skarmory at this point in time. I was like, I looked at their team and I saw Tyranitar, Celebi, and then 3 flyers. I was like, well, the last Pokemon, there's no way it's a rapid spinner. I'm going to bet it's a flying type dude guy. It's like a Superman team. So I literally went for spikes here, which probably might have been ill-advised, but I literally just set them up for that Tyranitar because I was looking at the damage output on my team, and there's nobody that can really just one-shot that thing, so the spikes are going to help out a lot, and it'll also deter it from switching in, because I've seen it switch in a few times and, you know, punch me in the face with the Hammer of Dawn. So the 3 layers are up. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to rapid spin them off of here. Starmie is pretty decent against Skarmory, I've noticed, because Skarmory can go for the 3 layers all at once, but I just have to spend 1 turn getting rid of the spikes, and they could get paralyzed in the middle of it too. So turn for turn, it's just kind of better in your favor, I think. I'm not a professional. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. They get paralyzed again. Shocker. So then I obviously just switch because I'm not really getting anywhere, and I bring in my Gengar. Gengar was pretty important for this battle. So they get paralyzed again, so that's cool. And I went for a Thunderbolt. I'm looking at the team. I'm like, okay, this should do some good damage. It does 53, which is solid. They decide to roar me out, which I was like, I don't care. I don't have spikes. But my final Pokemon is revealed to be Tyranitar. I'm saying that with air quotes because obviously it was Tyranitar, because you just look at my team comp. You kind of know who's coming in. So I just switched back into my Gengar. I'm like, I don't care. You can go for spikes, Toxic. I don't care. So I go for Thunderbolt, and it's not a flying type Pokemon. Their final Pokemon's literally Swampert. Usually, this is the part where you'd be like, oh, dang, well, that sucks. Now we got to deal with this thing. My Gengar has Giga Drain. David planned years ahead for this moment. I've never done this whole entire tournament until now. Dude, that was a Torrent boosted Hydro Miss, and Gengar ate that up for breakfast. It's because my Gengar is a little bit of bulk, obviously. I think if you don't have any bulk at all, that's like, I'm pretty sure, even if that Swampert has no special attack investment, I think it's basically a 1-hit KO. And I'm sitting here spamming Giga Drain. I thought that they would think that I would think that you shouldn't go for Giga Drain, because remember that interaction with the Moltres and my Swampert earlier? Because I was like, oh, well, they're not going to do it this turn, and then they did it. No, I literally just sat there and just kept spamming Giga Drain. I did not care if they switched or not. So they bring in Aerodactyl, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the team, and I should probably hold on to Gengar, because the 5 Pokemon right here, the only one that has an electric attack is Gengar. So they miss a Rock Slide on Skarmory, which is a bit unfortunate. Wouldn't have done too much, but more importantly, I get this time I hit the Toxic, thank God. It hits Moltres, which I'd say is pretty good. Moltres is being kind of a thorn in my side. So I go for obviously the most cringeous Protect in the world to get an extra 12 damage on this thing. So if you're looking at the landscape now, Tyranitar is the only one that suffers from spikes, so I don't really need Skarmory for that job anymore. I just need it to literally poison people and cringe stall. That's it. That's the only thing it can do. And it can only do it against Tyranitar and Aerodactyl now. I guess Moltres too, but it's a bit risky. So I brought in my Blissey, they brought in Tyranitar, and they went for a Dragon Dance. Now, I could have poisoned the Tyranitar like I wanted to do many, many turns ago, which might have been smarter in your guys' opinion. I don't know, but I brought in Skarmory because I was terrified of missing Toxic, because I knew they were just going to punch me and I knew I could live. So I just go for the very, very safe Roar. Maybe poisoning that Tyranitar would have made my life a lot easier, because then I could just brought in Skarmory the next turn, click Protect. That thing would have died eventually, because it doesn't have a Lumberry. Anyways, we got Skarmory and my Gengar here. We've seen the situation many times. Their Tyranitar is also a bit hurt, and I've revealed to have Giga Drain, so I don't think they want to come in on a, you know, a Thunderbolt, Giga Drain, and Spikes, which... that's why I set up the spikes. They decide, okay, well, I've gotten all my use out of Skarmory, and I'm not really getting anywhere. So I just decide to kill that thing. They just let it die. I think that was the right thing for them to do. That thing got paralyzed so many times. Now it's Aerodactyl. I'm like, okay, I still need my Gengar. That Aerodactyl, biggest problem for sure. It's the fastest thing in the whole game, and it's got Rock Slide. And at this point in time, I mean, look, it's used Rock Slide twice already, and I'm just going to assume that it's banded, so I decided to let Blissey die. You know, you thought you would have thought I would have brought somebody else like Skarmory or whatever else in. No, I brought in Blissey because of what I said earlier about me Toxic stalling somebody in case that actually has to happen. So I go for Rock Slide on the Aerodactyl, which I believe would have one-shot that thing because Tyranitar is the strongest thing known to man. They bring in their own. Remember, it has Dragon Dance. So I was hoping they would do it to get desperate to try and just win the whole game. They just go for the safe Earthquake, and then I killed them. Their Tyranitar most likely faster than mine. I can promise you that was not a speed tie, so I had to take some damage for that. But I heal up a little bit, and I was like, okay, they need to get something going because they're poisoned. So I think they're going to go for Hidden Power Grass, and that was a... Thank God I didn't mess that one up. Flamethrower, I'm pretty sure, would have annihilated me. So I bring in Gengar now, and I'm like, okay, Thunderbolt, I've kind of got you now, and you can't just switch freely because your last Pokemon's Aerodactyl. So I take down Moltres, and their last Pokemon's Aerodactyl. So what happens now is I'm like, okay, well, I can never, ever outspeed Aerodactyl with Gengar. So I'm just going to die here if they miss, whatever, that's cool. They lock themselves in a Rock Slide, and I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure they're banded, judging by the damage that happened to my Blissey. So I bring in Skarmory here. This was a pretty important turn because something stupid could happen. My bad, it's the next turn. I went for the Cringe Protect, obviously, to get some HP back. It's scary because if you saw one of my videos, like literally the other day, I should have won the battle, and then I got flinched by Aerodactyl Rock Slide, and I damn near fell out of my chair. I didn't get flinched, guys, don't worry. So, and I landed the Toxic. Oh! And the moment I land that Toxic, I knew I won because I just go for Protect here, and then you kind of probably know what's going to happen next, right? So... despite that thing being choice banded, my Tyranitar has a little bit of bulk. So I bring that thing in now, and it does not get one-shot by the Rock Slide. I lived with quite a bit of HP. I'm obviously just going to get outsped the next turn, but I don't care because this Aerodactyl's on a timer, and it cannot win now for sure because obviously I just bring in my Skarmory now and go for that Precious Protect. That thing that remember, I talked about this a while ago. I was holding on to Skarmory literally just for this possible moment because I know what Aerodactyl can do. So if it got poisoned, I knew I could just get away with doing this cringe. I go for a Protect here, and it's obviously over. I have 2 Pokemon. They got 1 turn left. The math ain't mathin'. I don't know if you guys are ever very good at math. I was. The math ain't mathin', and poor Aerodactyl faints a very poor, slow, gruesome death. So there you go, guys. I won game 2, and I took the set. That was round 5. So if you've been keeping up at all, or rather if you haven't been keeping up at all, I am now 5-0 in the tournament. I'm actually one of the very few 5-0 people. I know. I'm just as shocked as everybody else on the internet. I thought I would have been out already, but I'm still in. I'm 5-0. And to get to the final 32-person bracket, you need 7 wins. So I got to win 2 more. There's a total of 9 rounds. So somewhere in the next 4 rounds, I have to win 2. If I lose 3, well, then David, it wasn't meant to be. And I'm definitely not going to get comfortable and complacent because I know how Pokemon goes pretty well. And you could just lose everything. I could go 0-3 right now from this point in time. My tournament run ends at 5-3. So I'm not getting comfortable. I'm super anxious. I don't know how I got this far. Thanks for watching. Shout outs to David. Support the David run. We're not winning this tournament, but thanks for sticking around. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.